Adding integers. Now before we actually talk about the operation of addition, let's just remember that integers are numbers that you would see on a number line. The whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and their opposites, the negative values, -1, -2, -3, and so on. Not any decimals or fractions, just the whole numbers and their opposites. For right now, we have a few different setups of how we could see integer questions using addition. We have a positive and a positive value being added together. We have a negative and a negative value being added together. And then on the bottom, we also have two more. We have a positive and a negative, and then we flip it, we have the negative and then the positive. Let's focus on the top two for now, the same sign. For the same sign, if you look at the first question, that's something that you do in the lower grade levels. A positive value plus a positive value. And when you're adding these two values together, you just add them as always, starting with the ones place value and then the tens. And for this answer, it would become 31. For the second example on this page, adding the same sign, let's imagine that you owe somebody $12 and plus you owe somebody $19. When you add two negative values together, the answer stays negative. And when you think about it in that money example I just gave you, it's not like when you owe two people amounts of money, it goes away and becomes positive. No, that would be nice. But it stays negative to become a -31 in this case. But what happens if the signs are different? If the signs are different, for instance, a negative and a positive in our first example here. Imagine it's -4 degrees and the temperature rises 20. Well, it's going to give us a positive answer, and hopefully we can see a little bit of mental logic in there. However, here's a quick little process. We talked about absolute value of numbers, and if we look at just the 4 and the 20, and you find the difference. So what I mean by that is you actually do the high minus low of the absolute values. 20 minus 4. Just do the high number minus the low number. In this case, it's going to give you 16. The last step of how to tell whether your 16 is going to be positive or negative is by looking at the larger value that you circled. In this case, the 20 or the 4. The 20 is the larger value, and it's positive. It does not have a negative sign, so your answer stays positive. In our second example of 4 plus -20, we're going to do a similar concept of just circling the values themselves, the absolute values, which would be 20 and 4. And once again, we're going to do the high value of 20 minus the low value of 4. And now when we find the difference here, when we subtract, we get that 16 again. However, now when we look at the 20 as the larger value, it has a negative. If it's 4 degrees and we're adding a -20 to it, it actually turns into a -16. So it all depends on the signs. You need to be very careful. If it's the same sign, you would just add them together and keep the sign. But if they're different signs, look at just the numbers, the absolute values, and find the difference. In both of these cases, 20 minus 4, but then you need to keep the sign of the larger value.